Would you believe me if I said Penn State football is on a hot streak recruiting in the class of 2027 after no commitments for 2 months? They've got 3 in the span of 1 week, and I have a feeling we know where this one is headed. Ryan Snyder, recruiting reporter for BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, here to fill us in on all of the details and see if my guess is correct. So, Ryan, welcome to the show. What are we learning today? Who are we learning about?
Well, we've learned that Terry Smith has some very good relationships, and he's a damn good recruiter. I think we actually already knew that. But, commitment number 3 at the cornerback position. Kuran Caesar, 5'11", 180-pound defensive back. I mean, corner. He could play inside or outside. I was kind of curious. Could he maybe end up being a slot guy for him? Maybe. Time will tell. We'll see how he progresses and grows and, how the depth chart shakes out. But originally from Penns Grove, New Jersey, hometown, played at Penns Grove for 2 seasons and then switched to Winslow Township ahead of this past season. And that happens to be coached by Bill Belton. I almost said Bill Belichick there. Former Penn State letterman, of course, running back. I think most of you guys are familiar with Belton. Goes to Winslow Township this year. Obviously, very good season. Helped them in a lot of ways, running back, played some receiver. But he's certainly, as Bill made it clear, he's a defensive back to the next level. Helped make some special teams plays as well. So maybe, with time, he'll get in that mix as well. But pretty good looking prospect. There's a lot of things there that I'm curious versatility wise. I think the guys that they've added so far and in Gleason and Samaje Robinson kind of fit more on the outside. So I'm very curious to see if he could end up kind of being like a slot guy for them. Don't really have too many testing numbers. He did camp at Penn State 2 years ago. He was a baby then. I think he ran like a 4.6 something when going into his sophomore year, right? Which actually isn't that bad for
that's good.
What would he have been 14, 15 at the time? So, but no updated numbers, right? So I don't want to overthink it too much as far as where he stacks up compared to some of these guys. The big thing I would stress is from what I gathered over the last couple of weeks, or last couple of days, I should say, Samaje Robinson, we knew where he kind of was at the board. Gleason as well. Of course, we're going to be talking about Keyshawn Telfair a lot, another player that we think Penn State is not official yet, but in a good position with, could probably get him on board here in the next 10 days or so. When I was asking, who's the next guy up, right? Caesar's name consistently was the one mentioned by, multiple sources. So I think Terry Smith's done pretty much exactly what he was hoping to do here, as long as he gets Telfair on board. And of course, he's got to keep these guys committed, right? Time will tell. I always thought 3 corners in the class would make the most sense, but when you're hitting at this kind of a rate, and these are 4 guys you really want, you take them. And oh, by the way, signing days, however many months away, right? So a long way to go still. But I think Penn State's really happy to get Caesar on board. If he actually signs, he'll be the first Bill Belton to Penn State commit. Obviously Julian Peterson was committed last year, and everything that happened there, he ended up at North Carolina. We were joking earlier. I think he's had 7 or 8 now Power 4 prospects.
Four that I can remember of. And then one of them was committed for a little while, I think, or was interested and then didn't make it through. And then Julian Peterson was the first one that seemed like it was going to stick.
Yeah. And Peterson definitely would have stuck too. Obviously, there was a coaching change. But we'll see with Caesar. Like I said, long way to go. But Terry Smith's been pretty high on him for a long time. And I think he's really happy to get him on board. And here we go. We're at 3, maybe 4. I don't know if Telfair is actually like a silent commit or anything like that, but everybody seems to make it pretty clear that he's close to committing. And so, cornerback recruiting, we're not going to call it done. It's never done in the beginning of April. A long way to go. We got to fend all schools, but I don't see him adding too many more after that.
I guess this is an obvious follow-up question, but I guess it isn't surprising. Are you surprised at all that the longest tenured coach and the guy who has the most consistent recruiting background is also the guy to kick things off for Penn State in 2027 when they have had kind of this dry spell?
Not only that, everything you said is correct there. But here's the thing I really feel like I've learned in the last couple of months. The interim head coach spell that he has, his stock has never been higher. I mean, the people have always spoken very highly of Terry. Now they speak of him as if what people used to speak like kind of like James as. I mean, he is very popular. I mean, there's guys like Dylan McGee, for example, Allen Evans, like some of these national corners that we were watching for official visits and stuff. I mean, those guys all speak incredibly highly of Terry and what he was able to do. And look, I think if you were really paying attention to the end of Penn State season and you watched the Pinstripe Bowl, like the way Terry has been spoken about, which was all fair. I mean, Terry did a fantastic job.
He earned all of that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. It has only, improved his stock even more. So yes, the main reason, of course, you're getting these guys is there's relationships have going on forever, right? Zachary Gleason, he offered Telfair like 2 years ago. Again, not official yet, but I expect them to be. Samaje Robinson is a little bit different, but of course, Caesar, Caesar, I think was offered by Terry originally in the September, I want to say. But yeah, he's been around, right? He camped and all those kind of things. He's visited a couple of times. So
can I just jump in here about that too? Because I do think that him being the interim head coach and everything that happened last year did interrupt our normal cycle and rhythm of talking about players. So just to be clear, Kuran Caesar's been around for a while as a prospect that Terry Smith has been interested in. Mm-hmm. We have not talked about him a whole lot, if at all. And I'm guessing is part of this is because of the massive upheaval and all the other things that are new. I think a lot of people might see 3-star cornerback. They might start to worry that Penn State is reaching or whatever. And this is a guy they've been after for a while. I just want to underline that in what you're saying.
We weren't talking about Kuran. I wasn't talking about Samaje Robinson either. I wasn't talking about Zachary Gleason all that much either. We had September, October, November, December purgatory. Then you got January. All that mattered was the transfer portal. Sure, you got those 2 junior days in at the end. You got a little taste of high school recruiting. Then you got another month-long dead period. Like, it just wasn't, for me at least, of course, we're writing and talking to these guys behind the scenes, and there's some stuff going on, but we had to get to now. Like, this was the first time we're really, back end of March, and it'll go all the way through June, where we're really sorting out who's on their board, where are these guys at. And by the way, these visits are really important too, as far as shaking out where these guys sit on that board. So that's why I think you're kind of, if fans feel that way, we haven't talked about them a ton. We would have been talking about a lot more if there wasn't a coaching change, or if Matt Campbell's hired a long time ago, whatever it may be. It just was a weird 6 months stretch there, really.
Yeah. And so I wanted to kind of give fans who maybe have not been watching the recruiting show, and if you have, I'm catching up on some of these names as well. So I think it's important when we have these moments to sit down and kind of reconstruct what would have been going on in the background. Kuran Caesar, a 3-star corner from New Jersey. And for the audio audience, for the podcast audience, 723 overall, not ranked at all by ESPN yet anyway. So like, these numbers are going to get updated. He's going to get more of a look, I think, again, from the national recruiting perspective, now that he's a Penn State commit. So all those things for the star watchers, I do think that there is a potential for him to change in his overall ranking as things go, because he's not even ranked by one of the 3 major recruiting services for the industry ranking overall, which has been, I think, the story of the last couple of commitments. Ryan, it is now officially, no matter when you're listening to this, it is April when you're watching this or listening to this video. And that means it's tax season. And I don't know about you. I got mine done early because I just hate it so much. I had to remove the burden from my brain. But where are you in your tax journey this spring? Have you gotten them done? Have you been able to sit
I don't
down
do taxes, T. Frank. I'm just waiting for the government to come get me one of these days. I don't know. I probably owe a lot of money at this point.
Well, if you do, listen, you should probably call Josh, because he can help you with some of those things, dealing with the IRS, because that sounds like a horrible thing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe I should hit him up. Actually, I think he's from Lemoyne, isn't he? I believe he's from my backyard. I gotta.
I think he is. Yeah.
I believe Freedom Financial, because I actually passed it the other day. I was like, man, I gotta go in there and get my taxes done. I probably should do that. Although
drop in and see, here's the thing: you can drop in and say hi, but you're going to spend a good bit of the time talking about Penn State football, because Josh is a Penn State football super fan. He is,
Josh. Free. I'll give you my phone number. All the texting and questions you want. Free taxes done. Call me.
Well, if you want to call Josh, 866-401-1090 or freedomfinancialtax.com. You can visit their website, freedomfinancialtax.com, to learn more about what they do. There's a whole bunch of things that they do, and I wrote a bunch of these things down. Not all of them make sense to me because I'm not a tax person, but if you're a new business and you don't want to deal with any of that stuff, they have their own business startup package. Everything you need to know to get a new business running efficiently. And IRS correspondence, complete tax situations, or if you just want peace of mind so you don't have to deal with any of that stuff, Freedom Financial Tax is a winning game plan for your taxes. Give them a call, 866-401-1090 or freedomfinancialtax.com. It's tax season. If you just are a person and you don't want to do your taxes, give them a call. I have not actually heard too much from Josh because he is buried under a mountain of tax stuff. But he's always looking to help people out. He is a person that cares about other people and wants to help people out. So make sure you give him a call, and appreciate him sponsoring our committed video series. Let's get into Kuran Caesar's highlights here. I've had a chance to watch a couple of games. Two things that I noted is that he makes a lot of plays on his highlights, and I don't mean that jokingly, because that would be like, no duh. Making plays on the football for a corner is not a guaranteed thing, and there's a good number of plays where he makes plays on the ball, because watching his playoff games, he never got targeted. And I think that's a compliment for a corner when you're in that kind of situation against teams that like to throw the football and they're not throwing to your side of the field. So clearly he had an opinion. People had an opinion on him in his own high school state of New Jersey in the New Jersey playoffs. And you do see good ball discipline. He's a zone corner. So this is the thing. When you're a zone corner, there's less opportunity for you to make a play on the ball unless they're throwing to your side of the field, because a lot of what you're doing is preventative maintenance. You're making sure guys don't even get a chance to get targeted. He's a lot of this is copy and paste. Very willing tackler, very dangerous tackler because he tackles with his head. He needs to improve on that. But he has great downhill recognition out of zone coverage, and I think he has a great football IQ. So a lot of these things make sense when you're looking at the new blueprint for what Penn State football is looking for. They want guys that make plays. You mentioned special teams. He's a kick returner, he's a punt returner, so he's one of the best athletes on his team, because you're not going to be unless you are the best athlete on your team in that situation. And you can see here the vision and the instincts to play the receiver and the ball in the air. So you got good awareness, good vision. And then to me, the question is kind of in the same way we had this conversation about Zachary Gleason is, what is the tangible upside? What are the skills that he brings that are unique? Some of the best corners in history are 6 foot, 190 pounds. So physical size doesn't necessarily equate to being one of the best corners, but in the recruiting process, in the star process, it does. Like, there is a certain amount of, we're looking for physical size, we're looking for measurements. His arm length doesn't stand out, his size doesn't stand out, his speed doesn't stand out, but he's got everything you're looking for. So, in a little bit of the comparison to Zachary Gleason, who just committed as well, very similar in that sense of nothing necessarily stands out other than they're great football players who make plays on the ball and have a great understanding of the game and a high level for a high school kid. I think those things are very important to Penn State football. And so those are the things I take away from watching his high school film and then watching some of those highlights to get a sense of his ability to make plays on the ball, which all seem to be there, even if they aren't in one individual game, because teams aren't targeting him.
We put a ton of stock into numbers, as we should. Data is important. There's a reason that Under Armour and the opening and all these camps exist. They exist for data. That is the big thing. Obviously, media, we get access to it as well. But the main reason those exist is to get 40s and shuttles and broads and all these guys, all these numbers on these guys to then, which schools pay for, by the way, if people don't know that. At the end of the day, though, football players are football players. And I will trust Terry Smith's opinion on any guy that he thinks is a football player to forever, really. I mean, I remember Kenny Wilsey was a great example, because Kenny was kind of similar where, there weren't a whole lot of numbers that popped. And I remember talking to somebody and like, dude, he's just a dog. He's a dog. And I know Kenny, he's obviously young. He's transferred to Vodtech now, but
I never got a chance to show any of that here.
Right. And I think it will come with time at Virginia Tech, but I just remember spring practice and different things we're asking around about young guys. And that was like just a consistent theme of like, here he is, man, just making plays. Doesn't have the longest arms or the fastest legs, whatever it may be. The kid just makes plays. And I think Caesar kind of fits that mold.
Yeah. The ball production and the plays just generally making plays this year from this cornerback class is wildly different than last year. And so it's been enjoyable for me to, high school film isn't always the most rewarding thing to watch, but when you actually have things happening on film and they are making plays, I think that's a positive sign for Penn State football. So again, if you're watching the Stars and you don't necessarily love the last two commitments, there is a threshold for athletic potential that you need to have to play the position, which Ryan is talking about. When you look into those numbers, these guys, at least on the film and some of the numbers we do have, they check the boxes. And that's what you need. At a certain point, you just need to be above a certain number of thresholds, and then your talent and your skill can take over based on what you can do individually with those talents. So
and we're
that's my
about to learn
thought.
a lot about Gleason too. Like, so I'm not sure about Ceaser, but just to talk about Gleason for a second, he's playing OT7 right now, big time scene, right? He's going to be going against a lot of guys, and he should be at opening New Jersey, I want to say. So, like, as far as testing numbers and things like that, like all that stuff's about to fall into place for Gleason. I've talked to him about that already. I wouldn't be shocked if Ceaser was at, opening or Under Armour, New Jersey, something like that too. So it's April, and I don't overthink all the ratings and all that stuff. There's so much to learn, especially these Mid-Atlantic guys. All the big camps are about to be rolling through here in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and so I think you'll really see a lot of movement for a lot of these guys in the, I guess it would be June, July kind of update.
Perfect. You had anticipated my question, so I didn't have to throw a curveball at you here at the end. And I should always remind. I did it again, Ryan. I got so excited about football that I forgot to tell people, like the video, subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. And of course, if you want more information, you want to know about these things before they happen, Ryan's reporting the threads on the message board over at bluewhiteillustrated.com. Subscribe right now. Get access to all of those for 50% off during the spring portal window. Yeah, the basketball portal is open, but it's also spring football. So we're just spring cleaning sale. Instead of throwing stuff out, we're getting more people in the building. So join us over at bluewhiteillustrated.com for the spring, and we'll get you all the information that you could ever want about Penn State football recruiting, because Ryan and Fitz do such a good job of getting information and not just getting you opinions, not just getting you hot takes, getting you facts that you can then take to your friends and sound like the smartest guy in your text thread. For now, I say that I might as well just hit pause, because we're going to be doing this again, it feels like, pretty soon with Penn State football recruiting. We mentioned it's recruiting season, so make sure you subscribe here. But that'll do it for now here with Kuran Caesar. We talked too much about Zachary Gleason. I almost called him Zachary Gleason. Kuran Caesar here, committing to the Nittany Lions. We'll be back with more breaking news when it happens from Blue White Illustrated.